All right, so 30 days to better critical thinking. Day 19. Yesterday we talked about don't be a dominator, don't be a top dog. But then this is its opposite. Day 19. Don't be submissive, don't be an underdog. A person playing a submissive role acquiesces to the domination of another or to others to get something he or she egocentrically values, such as a sense of security, feeling protection, or chance for advancement. These people exchange their freedom to achieve these ends, real or imagined. The submissive person, or underdog, learns the art of helplessness. Characteristics typically include servility or subservience, often accompanied by feelings of inferiority, inadequacy, and resentment. The underdog gains some indirect influence over the top dog through flattering subservience. Ironically, clever underdogs sometimes control unskilled top dogs. Submitters, like dominators, can either be successful or unsuccessful in achieving their goals. John F. Kennedy said, "Conformity is the jailer of freedom and the enemy of growth." People are often subservient in some situations and dominating in others. In other words, they switch roles in different situations. For example, they might be subservient at the office and dominating at home, or subservient to their spouse while dominating their children. At other times, they might even be rational. Top dog, underdog, dominating, submissive patterns are played out in numerous settings and situations in human life, and they lead to much cruelty and suffering. Reasonable persons avoid playing either of these roles. They recognize top dog and underdog patterns in themselves, insofar as they exist, and they work to avoid them. They realize these tendencies will come up again and again in their thoughts and therefore their behavior. Going along with a decision when you disagree with it is not necessarily egocentric, submissive, or underdog behavior. For example, if another person knows more about a situation or issue than you, and you are not in a position to research the information yourself, it might make sense to go along, even though the little information you have about the situation might lead you to disagree. You have to decide in any given situation and at any given moment whether you are egocentrically submitting to others or whether you are rationally conceding. Self-deception is always a lurking force in the human mind. Dominating and submissive egocentric thought is always camouflaged, at least to some extent, through self-deception. Hence, it appears in the mind as logical. To get command of your subservient nature, to the extent you are prone to this tendency, begin observing your behavior closely when you are with others. Do you tend to go along with them without thinking whether it makes sense or not? Do you resent doing so afterwards? Do you feel like someone else has control over you? Only by bringing your subservient thinking and behavior to the forefront of your thoughts will you be able to get command of it and change it. If you have a strong submissive tendency, be prepared for a long, hard fight with it. So today, be on the lookout for submissive behavior, yours and others. One of the hallmarks of submissiveness is conformity, a phenomenon common in human life, going with the pack. Not even thinking, like, what does somebody else think about something, so you can just feel safe going along with them, or create that kind of sense of getting what you want. Excuse me. So look closely at your behavior in situations where you tend to conform. People who are submissive to others often feel resentment later. Why that guy? Notice when you're resentful after having gone along with the group. When you submit against your will, do you notice yourself doing so? Do you feel impotent, or do you just think negative thoughts? Perhaps you make a flippant or a sarcastic comment. Perhaps you act in a passive-aggressive way. Don't blame others for controlling you. Instead, realize you are allowing them to do so, and figure out how to stop being submissive. Also notice when others are submissive in relationship to you. Can you determine what they are after? Do they get what they want through their submissive behavior? Some strategies for avoiding irrational submission. Pinpoint underdog behavior in yourself by identifying situations in which you tend to go along with others without good reason. In these situations, you might resent the subservient role you play, yet your resentment is submerged. It's not gone. You don't explicitly resist. You say what you are expected to say, but don't really mean. After going along, then you blame others for your frustration. To what extent do you find yourself behaving in a subservient way in your everyday life? Why are you doing it? What are you getting for doing it? What do you think would happen if you spoke up and said what you really think? What do you think you would lose? Identify specific circumstances in the past in which you behaved in a submissive manner. Did you feel resentful, defensive, irritable, intimidated? Much submissiveness in society goes unnoticed or notices conformity. And most people are egocentrically submissive in at least some areas of their life. For example, most people do not recognize their submission to their peer group, to irrational cultural requirements, to taboos, or socially defined authorities, people with high social status, who might lead people to act against their interests. Determine how important it is to be your own person, to think for yourself. And obviously sometimes I think people think they're the most independent thinking when they're going along with whatever the group has told them to think and to be. To be in control of your own life. Freedom begins with recognizing the extent of your slavery and subservience to social conventions, rules, and ideology. Realize that the submitter, like the dominator, can be either successful or unsuccessful. To the extent that you are egocentrically submitting to others, just how successful are you? Do you tend to get what you want through submission? And what precisely are you getting? What price are you paying for that reward? To what extent are you being dishonest in this situation, either with yourself or others? Catch yourself being submissive, such as in a meeting or in a conversation. At that moment, speak up. Say, as rationally as possible, precisely what you think. Notice the sense of self that you gain. Take a global look at your behavior to determine the extent to which you are dominating, submissive, or rational. Remember, you got dominating, submissive, and then rational. The middle path, the middle way, is best for most people. In what areas do you tend to submit? Social, financial, romantic, whatever. In what areas do you dominate? In what areas do you submit? But what areas are you rational in? What percentage of the time are you dominating, submissive, or reasonable? Start observing yourself closely to take control of yourself. I mean, that's really the ultimate goal here. Control yourself. Sovereignty of your soul. Sovereignty of your will. It's your only life. This is the one you're living. It should be yours to do with to be a free person, to take your own direction. When you do, you might be surprised by that inner sense of integrity that you gain, the boundaries you have. So anyway, good Lord, it's 4 in the morning here. I hate when I wake up too early, but then at least I do get these things done. Have a great day, and we'll see you later.